CBS Sports Radio.
Sports Flash.
I'm Amy Lawrence. Final round of 16 battle in Brazil. Team USA trying to advance to the quarterfinals of the World Cup for just the third time in our nation's history against Belgium for the right to face Argentina in the next round. Messi and company needing extra time to edge Switzerland earlier 1-0. USA and Belgium just getting into extra time after playing the first 90 minutes scoreless, and Belgium finds the back of the net in the second minute of extra time. Now, it's not sudden death. They still have to play the full 30, but Belgium just now on the board. It's 1-0 against Team USA. Afternoon baseball, a battle of first-place teams in Toronto.
Number 147, and there's a swing and a belt. Right field, deep, gone. Ryan Braun gives it a cursory look in right field, but that was a laser beam. Colby Rasmussen's 12th, and the Blue Jays double their lead to 2-0.
Mike Wilner with the call on the Blue Jays radio network. Jose Bautista also goes deep as Toronto dumps the Brewers 2-1. Other afternoon baseball, the Angels with Garrett Richards and the Chicago White Sox are playing a makeup game for last night's rainout early on. In fact, it's just top of the third. White Sox already have a 3-0 lead. First day of NBA and NHL free agency. So far, hockey with the bigger storylines. Goalie Ryan Miller leaves St. Louis to sign a 3-year deal with the Canucks. The Blues lure center Paul Stastny away from the Avalanche. In return, Colorado gets Jerome Iginla. Defenseman Brooks Orpik and Matt Niskanen get long deals from the Capitals. I'm Amy Lawrence.
Tierney, Tiki, and Dana. They're mixing it up weekday mornings on CBS Sports Radio.
All right, let's go. Let's take it. 1, 2, 3, light up.
And welcome inside the Coach's Corner with Coach Brandon Morrell, coming to you from the SportsRadioBeaumont.com studios here every Tuesday from 5 until 6. Also on SportsRadioBeaumont.com, AM 1450 and AM 1510. Got a great show for you tonight. Coming up here, we're going to talk to a lot of the high school coaches and a whole lot more, so be sure and stay with us this entire hour on AM 1450, AM 1510, and our digital mastered website, SportsRadioBeaumont.com. Here in the Coach's Corner, we continue our trek as we get toward high school football season. And joining me right now is the new Deweyville football coach and athletic director, Lance Dale. Of course, the Deweyville Pirates have had a great history of making the playoffs over the last few years, and a lot of that's due to the credit of what my good friend Chris Babin did at the program. He's now over at Warren, and we appreciate you taking time out to join us here on SportsRadioBeaumont.com. And, hey, welcome to Deweyville.
Thank you. Deweyville, Texas is a great place to be. Everyone's been really friendly, welcomed me with open arms, and most importantly is the kids have been working really hard this summer, and they're buying into the summer strength and conditioning program, and we're expecting a good season.
Well, Coach, talk a little bit about your background, kind of where you came from, so people kind of get to know you more and more on a one-on-one basis. I know everybody pretty much in Deweyville knows out there and is seeing different interviews you've conducted around town, but talk a little bit about your coaching experience and your coaching background for me a little bit.
I'm fixing to start year number 19. I was an athletic director and head football coach in Kuntz. I've made several stops at different schools as an assistant at schools such as Barbers Hill, Hampshire Finette, and Tatum. I was fortunate enough when I was at Tatum, I was the run game coordinator, and we got beat in the state championship game in 2007, but we had a great team. I've got a big background in not only football, but basketball and track. I've been blessed, and I've been to the state tournament in basketball twice as an assistant, and I've been in the state track meet as a head coach and assistant coach. Just kind of a well-rounded small school coach, and just try to bring success to the total program and not just focus on one sport, but focus on all the sport and run a well-defined program, and we try to be successful in everything.
Again, SportsRadioBeaumont.com, your place for live and local high school sports and sports of all ages and all comers. Coach Lance Dale joining us, Deweyville Pirate head football coach. His first year there at Deweyville. You heard about the experience there. And, Coach, talk a little bit about those summer workouts and how they've gone. You mentioned some of the response you're getting there for the kids, the weightlifting program, the off-season conditioning program. And as you get ready to embark upon your first season, what are some of the goals you have in mind as your first season at Deweyville?
Well, our summer strength conditioning program is going good. We're a small school, and we've been averaging about 50 kids a day. The kids have really been working hard. You know, we're doing basically the same thing all the other schools are doing. We're focusing on not only the weight room, but we're focusing on agility, we're focusing on speed, we're focusing on conditioning, and just trying to get acclimated to the heat, so when they start two-a-days that it's not a complete shock because, kids, you have to make sure they stay active so they don't just sit on the couch all summer and they're ready to start two-a-days.
Again, Coach Brandon Morrell here on sportsradiobeaumont.com inside the Coach's Corner with Deweyville High School football head coach Lance Dale. And, Coach, talk a little bit about some of those, newcomers and, of course, returning starters that you're going to depend on this year, offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. I'm sure there's a few names out there you can kind of spearhead my way, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Well, first of all, I am a new coach coming in, and I don't really have any projected starters. I'm coming in, and I'm looking for 11 on offense, and I'm looking for 11 on defense, and I just got to see who catches my eye. Just talking to, just looking at Dave Campbell's and looking at some returning starters and talking to some of the coaches that were on staff here last year, we do have some people that we're looking to in some areas. We're looking at Brendan Waldrop, Thomas Henson, Tristan Gordon, Brett Ladner, Jose Arriaga, just a lot of kids. On defense, a couple of names we might be looking at is Ryan Lee, Robert Brinson, Dakota Pelt, possibly Jared Greer. Just several others. But like I said, this is my first year, and I am getting acquainted with the kids, and I basically need to watch them practice. I need to evaluate some things in some scrimmage-type situations and practice situations before we lock down our starting 11 on offense and defense before our first game against East Chambers.
Work ethic is one of the biggest things the kids have to have. And, last year with previous different reigns there, different head coaches, a student would play one side of the ball. A player would say, well, you're going to be the running back, you're going to be the quarterback. But right now, you try to make more players versatile by playing both sides of the ball. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree totally, especially in a small school such as ours. My philosophy is I'm going to put the best 11 kids on the field on offense. I'm going to put the best 11 kids on the field on defense. And whatever it takes for us to be successful is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to run them and get them in shape, and we're going to play old school football. We're going to get after you.
I was down coaching in Sabine Pass, and I don't know if I told you that story. Walked up, and Chris Babin, I told him, I said, you put a whooping on us, 66-0 when I was down in Sabine Pass. He said, well, didn't mean to do that, of course, but we had to go out there and play football. But he did tell me, Coach, of course, one of the strengths of that football team that we saw last year when we scouted Deweyville was the offensive line, and I'm sure you got a pretty good one coming back, correct?
Yeah, we have a pretty good offensive line, but I'd like to add something about what Coach Babin said. Our schedule this year is probably the toughest schedule they've had in Deweyville in the past 20 years.
Wow.
We're opening up the season with East Chambers. Then we're playing Warren. That'll be a good game. Then we are playing Kirbyville. We're playing Woodville. We're playing West Sabine. And then our district, this new, they moved the classifications up. We're Class 3A now. I call it new school 3A, old school 2A. We're playing State Powerhouse Newton. We're playing Garrison. We're playing Corrigan Camden. We're playing the Hemphill Hornets and the Crockett Bulldogs. And like I said, that's probably the toughest schedule that they've had here in the past 20 years. But, hey, we're not going to make any excuses. We're going to roll our sleeves up. We're going to go to work, and we're going to take each game separate, and we're going to take one game at a time. You can't worry about the other teams. All you can do is prepare for them. And the only thing that you have control of is yourself and your team. And to be honest, we don't have control of any of it. God's in control of everything, and we're just going to play to honor Him. We're going to do His will, and we're going to try to, make these kids not only into good football players, but I want them to be good husbands, good fathers, good productive members of society. And that's our main focus. It's not just to win football games. It's to make better people. And I learned that when I worked in Tatum, Texas, for Coach Andy Evans. Like he told me, he said, Lance, he goes, we've had people go to pros, we've had people go to numerous colleges, and that's all anybody wants to talk about. But what's even more proud is when I hear of the success stories that our athletes have had that come through our program, that they are good daddies, good husbands, good members of society, and that's what we're really in this for, is those kids and to make them better people. And if we can win football games along the way, that's even better.
Exactly, Coach. Speaking of that realignment, were you a big proponent of this district realignment? Because I know there were some coaches who were kind of in favor of it, and some coaches weren't used to going up or down a classification. What was your opinion on that?
I like the big school, small school. deal where they break it down. You have big school and small school. I can see some schools where it helps, and I can see some schools where it really doesn't make a difference. It really just depends on what district you're in. My personal opinion is for our district, I don't favor it because of the travel situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're having to travel. It's a long ways from Deweyville, Texas to Garrison. It's a long ways from Deweyville to Crockett. I'm looking at it as for travel reasons, kids getting home late. We're having to leave school early. It's going to be the travel is the main issue that I'm looking at. But I wouldn't be a proponent of it because of travel, but I do understand some schools that it will help playing schools their size, and for those guys, hey, good luck and best wishes. But for me, the main argument I would have would be the travel and the expenses of travel because, nowadays, every school is a financial need to try to save money where they can.
Exactly, and I felt the bulk of that travel last year. We played the games up near Tenaha. We played games, like I said, out near Leggett Baseball, Big Sandy, Evadale. So our school bus was driving the entire time. And, being a driver, you get time and having to step off that school bus coach. You got to coach the game, get the kids in line, get them back up, feed them. So I understand the game completely. I know it's a lot of fatigue on the kids when they have to travel those far football games. And I guess, Coach, one of the final points that I wanted to have is, one of the things we try to do here on sportsradiobeaumont.com is cater to our local listeners, kids that play Little League, kids that do play Pop Warner football. And I've asked some other coaches around Southeast Texas, and I'll ask you, what do you think one of the most important, dynamics out there if a kid is going through football and playing Pop Warner? We talk about and hear about all this news about concussions on the news the entire time and about kids not taking care of their bodies, not eating the right food, not hydrating and things like that. What do you think is the biggest key, I guess, for younger kids to learn when they start playing Pop Warner football and they continue on their path till they get to high school?
Well, of course, they need to hydrate. They need to drink plenty of fluid. That's something that, their parents can help them with at home. That's something the Pop Warner coach can stress to the parents. As far as the concussion part goes, I think the Pop Warner coaches, I know that they go through some concussion trainings, and they have to be able to realize the symptoms and the signs when it comes to their young players. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, for those young kids is if they don't get anything else out of Pop Warner, there's three things that I think they need to get out of Pop Warner. They need to learn how to block. They need to learn how to tackle. And the most important for me is I want any kids, whether they're a big kid or a young kid, old kid, young kid, it doesn't matter. They need to have fun because so many times at that age, people get caught up in the winning and losing, and they forget why they signed up. The little kids signed up to have fun. They signed up to learn something. So as long as they're having fun and they're learning something and they're getting to put that red and white jersey on, and they're getting to be the Deweyville Pirates, and then they go to the games and watch their heroes run out on the field through the run-through tunnel on Friday nights, and that's their dream, then I think it's great. That's their dream, that's their aspiration to become a varsity Deweyville Pirate football player. And the main thing, like I said, was have fun, because that's why little kids play football, and I think sometimes people lose sight of that. But my biggest thing is have fun with the little ones.
Well, sometimes fun does get lost in the shuffle. Well, I tell you what, Head Coach Lance Dale, the Deweyville Pirates, well said. We appreciate the time here.
Okay, I would just like to add this. I'd like to thank you for your time. I'd like to thank you for your interview. I'd just like for everyone, not just in Deweyville, but in Southeast Texas, to know that I'm proud to be a Deweyville Pirate, and I'm expecting good things from our kids. We have great kids. They work real hard, and we're going to get after them on Friday night. I promise you that.
And I'm sure you will, Coach. Coach Lansdale joining us here inside the Coach's Corner here on SportsRadioBeaumont.com. Also AM 1450, AM 1510 can be heard every Tuesday here on your live and local sports station. Coach, we appreciate it. Have a great season, and anything we can do, feel free to give us a call.
Thank you, sir.
We take a trip up near Warren High School, and the new athletic director, head football coach, is Chris Babin joining us here on the show. And, Coach, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, especially with summer workouts going on. Appreciate your time.
Hey, glad to be on, man.
All right, Coach. We'll talk a little bit about that. You and I had a chance to talk about a month ago, Coach, and talk about the transition, what it was like going from a school like Deweyville, where you had great success there, runs after good playoff teams, and kind of what went behind the decision to make that switch over to Warren High School.
I had a personal connection to Warren High School. I knew some coaches out here. My defensive coordinator actually coached me in high school when I was a kid. And I knew the superintendent. Me and him and our daughters play in the same volleyball team. And I know he's a great guy. His name's Brad McCatherine. He's a great guy. And when it came open, I know it's a tough district, but it's a bigger school than Deweyville. And I felt like I could help. I felt like this is a place that my style could make this place better, and that was a big reason that I wanted to come over.
Again, Coach Chris Babbitt is joining here inside Coach's Corner. Coach, talk a little bit about some of the summer workouts and how the response has been from your freshmen all the way up to your seniors this year as far as the summer workouts are concerned.
No, it's getting better every day, to be honest with you. When I got here, I gauged the staff and I asked them, how summer has been, and they said, some days we might have 30, some days we might have 10, it's just kind of sporadic, and we're averaging right out maybe a little bit over 40 kids right now, and the majority of those are football players. I invite girls as well. I'm only getting 2 or 3 girls every day, so I'm getting a lot of football players up here right now. But I want everybody. I want baseball players. I want basketball, golf. I don't care. I want girls. I want everybody. But the football team's excited. And, they got to spend about 6 weeks with me at the end of school. I got over here in the middle of April, and they got to know me and got to know some of my expectations, and they're responding pretty well. It's going all right.
Again, Coach Chris Babbitt is joining us here inside the Coach's Corner. He's up there with the Warren Warriors, formerly with the Deweyville Pirates. And, Coach, talk a little bit about the climate and culture. I know you and I kind of spoke a while back there a month ago when we had our preliminary talks, and we're going through some things. And you talked about one of the things that you wanted to do there going to Warren from Deweyville is to kind of change the climate and culture. What did you mean by that?
Well, I grew up in Lumberton and played football at Lumberton. And I remember as a kid going into two-a-days thinking, I hope I earn this position. I hope I play well. I hope I do these things. And then I would think, I hope that we win. That was the case when I got to Deweyville. Their number one goal was not winning. Their number one goal was playoffs. Everybody wants to win, but not everybody's focused on it. And that changed quickly over at Deweyville, and I feel like it's kind of the same deal over here right now. That the number one goal, the state of mind, the overall culture isn't playoff focused, isn't state competitive focused. And I assumed that when I took this job and I got here and I saw that's not a big priority yet. Well, that's going to change. It with my strong personality, that changed in Deweyville, and that's going to change over here as well. That's the biggest hurdle I'm trying to get over right now.
Yeah, I can tell you what. And, Coach, talk a little bit about some of the returning players that you have, too, as well. I know it's a pretty decent senior-laden ball club there that you have coming back, and some of the up-and-comers from the freshman all the way to the junior class. Throw some names out there we can look out for here in 2014.
Tate Gore, Connor Fry, Garrett Amador, all 3 of these kids are all competing for the spot at quarterback right now. The good thing about all 3 of them is that they're all strong, fast, quick, athletic kids. So whichever one of them is not playing quarterback, the other will be playing Z, my wingback. The other will be playing tailback. So all 3 of those kids are gonna be on the field for us somewhere. I got here and I moved a kid named Randy Lacqua. He's about 190 pounds. I moved him from tight end to running back because he's a big, strong, physical kid that can run a little bit, and he's going to help us out in the backfield a little bit. Riley Herod will be an all-district pick for us. He'll be our right tackle. He's 6'1", 6'2", about 250. And he's been up here in the summertime working his tail off. He's going to be a good pick for us. Chase McCatherine, our center, he was an all-district pick last year, second-team all-district last year. I expect him to be all-district again. He's already about 10 pounds heavier than he was last year. So, that's of course I've got my 2 junior brothers. They're both juniors, the McGallion boys, Hunter and Chance. Hunter plays guard and defensive tackle, and Chance plays fullback and middle linebacker. Chance is a load when he runs the ball. And I'm excited about that. All these years I've coaching running backs and coordinating offense, I've never had a kid weigh 200 pounds to get the ball to. Well, this kid's about 215. So I'm going to have myself a jackhammer with a couple of water bugs back there.
Again, Coach Chris Babbitt joining us here with the Warren Warrior program. And, Coach, another part of our conversation I thought was very interesting. a while back when I had a chance to meet you, and you're a class act too as well. As you kind of told me a little bit about the weight room and how you were changing workouts in the weight room, and about how, kids don't know the word pain, and you and I talked about that word pain as far as getting the pain out in the weight room and being able to get that one extra rep, that get one extra step, one extra squat or bench press, what have you. But you like to have fun in the weight room. You like to put the jukebox on, let them lift weights to music, so then when they get out to the field, they know what it's like to take a tackle or put a hat on somebody or do something like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of a philosophy that I've kind of developed and cultivated over my years of coaching. If you put a kid out on the football field and pat him up and say hit each other, well, the kid that's a little more scared of pain, that's a little more scared of being hit, he's not going to learn anything from that. You put a kid through a hit and drill 100 times, and he's not going to overcome any of that fear because the fear is going to be there. So you've got to find a way to manufacture physical pain in a way that they don't feel like they're going to die or get injured. Well, that's how I use this weight room. I'm going to manufacture pain and let the kids know that if you're not suffering, if you're not going through pain in this place, then you're not getting any better. And I feel like we manufacture this pain, this fatigue, this mental doubt in the weight room, and you start to overcome that in the weight room. Then when you get on the field, your confidence level's higher. Just a philosophy, and it seemed to work for me. I hope it continues to.
Talk a little bit about your district and what you guys expect coming up. I know it's going to be some fierce competition this year, but talk a little bit about some of the foes in your district right now and kind of what you expect.
Well, Beaumont, I think Texas Football Magazine picked Beaumont third, and that surprised me. Beaumont played a classification higher last year. They've got 9 kids back on offense. Beaumont's going to be competitive. Bradley Morgan, their head coach, does a good job out there. Beaumont's going to be tough. They run the slot T on offense. They run the 4-3 on defense, and they stick with that, and that's what they do. And from 7th grade on up, they get really good at it. Beaumont's going to be competitive. Greg Neese at Kerrville does a great job. They always kind of reload now, and Kerrville's going to be good. Koontz, I know they have some great athletes. East Chambers, Russ Sutherland's one of my good buddies. He does a great job with his kids. So there's 4 teams right there that are all going to be tough, well coached, athletic, and competitive. And then you've got Hardin. They've got a lot of kids back. Anahuac, I don't know. Woodville, I don't know. But all I know is that every week is going to be a battle. It's kind of like, I guess, being in the Big 12. Or in that 22-5A district down the road that with Central and Ozan and Vidor and all those schools, every week is going to be a battle. Well, that's the case here. There's going to be no relaxed week. So we have to strap it up and prepare hard every week and get after it.
Again, you're listening to our coaching carousel here as we take our tour up there near Warren right now with head coach Chris Babin here on sportsradiobeaumont.com, also AM 1450 and AM 1510. And, Coach, talk a little bit about some of the schemes. I know it's always tough to defend a slot T, a program like Beaumont, and you get into a situation. I just talked to head coach Walter Fortune with the Hardin Hornets. He said one of the things he wanted his guys to be able to do is to run the football down people's throats and put 8 men in the box defensively and be able to stop the run. What are some of your schemes you're going to do offensively and defensively this year?
A lot of teams label themselves. There's a slot T team, a wing T team, spread, whatever. We're always under center. I never get in the gun, so we're definitely not a spread team. But my opposing coaches, they'll call me different stuff. Slot T, wing T, we're kind of a pro style hybrid of all that stuff. We have a little bit of slot T characteristics, a little bit of regular old traditional characteristics. We're a big play action pass team. A lot of our passing game will be set up off our run game. We'll run the power and the toss, the downhill toss, really well. And since I was a young coach, since I was first-year coach, learning from Alvin Crater at Lumberton, that's the first play I learned was that toss, and we really hammer it, and that's our focal point. If you can stop the power and the toss, then you'll probably beat us. But it's going to be tough because we're going to coach the heck out of it.
And, Coach, one of the last points I have, health's always a big concern through that, too, as well, not trying to overdo it or overcompensate for something. We're getting down to the dog days of August right now and making sure camps flow well, making sure the kids get back, a couple of weeks before school starts. What are some of the things that you want to work on now so when you transition to two-a-days? I'm sure health's going to be a key concern, and you want to keep those players hydrated, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, we those old school days of a water break in the middle of practice, that's over. That's done. It's not the way that I operate. It's not the way that anybody I know operates anymore. We keep water at every station. And if you're not in the drill, then I fully invite my kids to go get water as they're watching their other position kids, their other position buddies go through the drill. They need to get back there and get them a squirt. It's the old days of you get one water break in a 2-hour practice, that's over. My kids are going to stay hydrated all the time. And it doesn't make any sense. And that's one thing I try to talk to young coaches about, even a Pop Warner coach about. If the kid is fatigued or if the kid is thirsty, then he's not listening. He's focused on that brain saying, hey, I'm going to die. I need to survive. I need water. So if you want to keep your kids focused and engaged in practice, then you actually get better performance out of them if you keep them hydrated. I guess there's an old philosophy that you'll make them tougher, or they have to play when they're thirsty. Bull. You don't have to play when you're thirsty. If you're tired and you're not performing, then you get to come take a play off. Somebody else goes in. So in practice, it's just like in the classroom. Practice is a teaching time. And what better way to teach a kid than when they're full of energy, hydrated, and attentive. And so I think it keeps them safe, but it also makes your football team better.
All right, Coach, well said. I tell you what, sportsradiobeaumont.com, your place for live and local sports, also AM 1450, AM 1510. Folks, he did it at Deweyville. Now he's going to transition over to the Warren Warrior program. I have a good feeling about my good friend here. He's certainly going to turn things around up there. Chris Babin. Chris, we appreciate you joining us inside Coach's Corner, Coach. And anytime you want to check in with us on a Friday night, we'd love to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
It's the hard truth. In today's world, negative experiences quickly find a way to go online. One disgruntled customer, a bad employee, or broken personal relationship can easily post an ill-advised photo, tweet, rumor, story, bad review, and there it is right on page 1 when you search your name or business online. In the past, you had no way to fight back. Well, now you can. Grab a pen and take down this phone number or store it in your cell phone, but call 1-866-345-5673. That's 1-866-345-5673. When you call, you'll get free info that will show you how a reputation management company can easily build positive online content for you and legally bury negative information. This is not something you can do on your own. Don't lose any more business or miss out on another personal or business opportunity because of what is wrongfully being said about you online. Take control of your internet search results. Call 1-866-345-5673. That's 1-866-345-5673. Hurry, don't delay. Call 1-866-345-5673 now.
Drowning in credit card debt? Realize credit counseling only lowers interest and takes up to 7 years? Thinking about bankruptcy, but found out the new bankruptcy law forces you to repay your debt and may ruin your credit for 10 years? If yes, and you don't want to risk your property or your future, and you need fast debt relief, call the U.S. Financial Management My Debt Negotiation Program.
My debt negotiation paid off my bills in only 36 months and helped me avoid bankruptcy.
Get the superior solution to bankruptcy and credit counseling.
I reduced my debt by 70% and with one low monthly payment.
And harassing collection calls.
I was afraid to answer the phone until My Debt Negotiation stopped the hassling once and for all.
Restore your credit.
We finally bought our dream house.
Stop overpaying credit card companies today. Grab a pen and take this number down. 1-800-563-1283. The call is free. The money you'll save is real. Don't wait another day to resolve your problem. 1-800-563-1283. Hurry before the new law doubles your minimum monthly payments. Call 1-800-563-1283 now.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
1, 2, 3.
Coach Brandon Morrell back here in the Coach's Corner on sportsradiobeaumont.com, and also heard every Tuesday from 5 to 6 here on AM 1450 and AM 1510. Please to keep local sports here in Southeast Texas all the time. If you ever have an event or a fundraiser or a Little League or anything that you ever can drop me a line, you can always go to the sportsradiobeaumont.com page, click on shows, look under the link there. You can send me information, local tournaments, anything going on that's inundated with local sports. Pleased to be welcoming in a young man who's going to be taking that next step, Vidor pitcher Eric Fauché joining us here in the Coach's Corner with Coach Brandon Morrell. His summer's been busy. And, Eric, good to have you here on the show, and appreciate you taking a little time out to join us here.
I appreciate y'all having me on there.
You got it, man. And I tell you what, how does that feel, first of all? Eric Fauché, Lamar University Cardinal. Has it had a chance or had some time to sink in as you take the next step to attend fall ball coming up and enroll in classes this fall?
Yes, sir. It's actually been pretty good starting the workout program that has me on and just trying to get ready for the next level and being able to pitch coming in as a freshman.
What do you think that made this happen? You know, we talk about this, and like I said, we're the home for any local sports here, so I've had a chance to go out and talk to a few Little League teams, or actually we'll have that chance more often than not. I love to go out to Ford Park and watch a lot of the select baseball that goes on with former Lamar Cardinals Jason Tyner and, of course, Morgan Walker. I should say Jason played at Texas A&M, but I watched Morgan his entire career. But it's always nice to see kids start from that age and select baseball. What do you feel in your mind made this happen for you this season to take that next step? What went right? Did everything just click for you?
Yes, sir. I started out working real hard in August, and then everything just started to fall in place. I mean, it was a bumpy road in the fall and early spring. I didn't pitch very well, and then whenever district rolled around, it just all started clicking, and I started throwing lights out. So then it all just started falling in place.
Now, Eric, how would you describe your demeanor on the mound? I understand Coach told me you've got 3 quality pitches, and, of course, the recruiting process there at Lamar University made that effective. How would you describe your approach on the mound as far as a pitcher facing, some of the toughest hitters there, especially in your district, 24A?
Well, I just go right at all of them. I don't really throw many pitches to get hit, so I always go for the strikeout. Unless all my stuff isn't on, then I go for ground balls, but I'm always going for the kill.
How good were you as far as the other guys behind you, knowing you could depend on those guys to play defense behind you, and you had a good battery mate too as well?
Whenever my stuff wasn't good, I knew I always had a defense behind me that could stop the ball in case my stuff wasn't as good as usual. I didn't always have to rely on all my pitches. I could always have a defense behind me. And
what was it like for you? I mean, week in and week out, you had a couple of good tournaments that Coach Green had talked about too, but you playing teams like P&G, looking at teams like Nederland and Little Cypress, Mauriceville, you see in competition just as good as yours. You look at that and you have to face those type of caliber teams week in and week out. What was it like to face those top caliber teams?
I think it's going to help me out in the long run, but it was always tough. Every week I got on the mound, I knew I was facing quality people, so you always had to bring your A game. So it was just a grind to the whole thing.
Now, I've got to ask you this question. Transitioning to the collegiate level, you mentioned starting that workout program. What Coach Gilligan has had you on there at Lamar University. I've known Coach for a long time. He's one of the class acts in college baseball. You look at somebody with almost 1,500 wins. You're talking about up there with Augie Garrido at Texas, Wayne Graham at Rice. And you look at college baseball where it is now, I'm sure it's been your ambition since you were a little leaguer to play in the collegiate ranks, correct?
It's actually been one of my dreams to play college baseball ever since I've started playing since I was 4. It's pretty special to be able to actually live the dream.
What was the recruiting process like? I mean, for family, did your dad, your mom have a lot of things to say about choosing Lamar? And what went into the decision-making process, or who went into the decision-making process?
Well, my family's always told me that I make all my decisions, and they'll just back me 100%. So I just laid everything out on the offers I had, and then whenever I started weighing out all my options, Lamar just outweighed all the places with the scholarship offer and how nice the facility is, and that's what helped me make my decision there.
What's some advice that you have for kids coming up in Little League and then transitioning into select baseball and then, of course, high school? How do they keep their arms healthy? What do you do?
Well, I always have rest. Like right now, I threw all season and all fall. All spring and all fall, so now I'm on a rest right now. All I do is work out, and I'm a rest for probably a month or so longer, and then I go back into a throwing program and start back like I've never started throwing before, just to get my arm back in shape, and then I get back on the mound so my muscles have time to rebuild, because it's a lot of wear and tear throwing 1,000 pitches a season or 50 innings or how many ever innings you throw. It's just a lot of wear and tear on the body.
Again, Coach Brandon Morrell here in the Coach's Corner, sportsradiobeaumont.com, also on 1450 AM, heard every Tuesday from 5 to 6, joined by Vidor pitcher Eric Fauché, just signed with Lamar University. It's always nice to see Coach Gilligan go out there and, recruit in this area. I mean, he's recruited. He's got ties up in the state of New York. He's got ties as far south as Florida, here in Texas. But he's one of the best coaches I've seen go out there, and he's busy. In fact, I saw him at one of the golf courses here in the area. We're actually driving some balls here in Beaumont. And, it's always good to talk baseball with him. He's very open-ended. He gives his honest opinion. But I'm sure he had to have been one of the mainstays there at Lamar University, one of the public figures in your decision-making process, correct?
He has a good character, good personality. I enjoy talking to him. It's a great guy. I like him a lot.
Coach Brandon Morrell here in the Coach's Corner here, heard every Tuesday from 5 to 6 here on sportsradiobeaumont.com, also AM 1450 and AM 1510. Again, Vidor pitcher and now Lamar alum Eric Fauché joining us here on sportsradiobeaumont.com. And Eric, I tell you what, one more question. What would you say to the Vidor community out there as far as all the patrons that have followed you ever since you played Little League Baseball, transitioning into Select, and then joining the Vidor program, going to school there, putting in 4 years, and now as you transition to the collegiate level, what would you say to the Vidor community and of course, to head coach Kyle Green?
I just want to thank everybody for backing me in everything I do, and I just want to thank my teammates for being there whenever I need them, and all the whole community around here for just backing our entire Vidor program, and the school staff and all the students for coming out and support.
And I tell you what, one more question because it just popped into my head. Coach Green talked about one of your teammates now going off to sign at the University of New Orleans, what he's going to bring to that privateer program.
Well, he throws the ball with a lot of power. He's good. His name's Jared Taylor. He really knows how to pitch. I can't wait to face him, hopefully play against him again, and have a pitching duel with him.
Exactly. They're in the Southland Conference now in New Orleans and Lamar University. Eric, we appreciate it again. Thanks for joining us here on sportsradiobeaumont.com.
All righty, thank you.
Right now, we're going to be joined by a good friend of mine, a sports reporter up in Waco, Texas, with a local television affiliate. We go back to the old days doing this, Mr. Nick Canizales. Nick, what's going on, man?
Brandon Morrell, man, I'm glad that you're back on the air. Southeast Texas has missed you, and it's good to hear your voice.
Well, it's good to hear from you, partner. We got a number of subjects to throw around today, of course, getting our listeners involved. I tell you what, I want to start off. It's not too far away. It's hard to believe here. We're getting close to the 1st of July, and we're already talking Lamar Cardinal football with Coach Ray Woodard. And it's just amazing right now. The Cardinals have a big game coming up. I believe it's September the 6th against the Texas A&M Aggies. There's a lot of excitement in the air. The Cardinals now in the 5th year of football. Let's talk a little bit about that and kind of what you expect now and, some of the contributions of the local kids there on Lamar football team.
Well, this is a team that I think is looking to finally have a winning season. They lost a lot of close games last year. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, they picked them to finish 7th. They had a great season. 6 players earned all Southland Conference honors, including sophomore running back Cade Harrington. This is a kid that I believe that Lamar actually considered redshirting, but they didn't, and luckily for them, he led the team in rushing, was also named the Southland Conference Freshman of the Year. I mean, outstanding kid who's got 3 years left of eligibility. And plus, the receiving corps has been outstanding, along with Caleb Berry, who set numerous records last year.
What do you think, just speaking of Cade Harrington, what makes him the best? I mean, I went to a couple of games last year. I saw Cade just be one of those elusive running backs. He can hit it north-south. He can hit it east-west. He can get outside between the tackles, too, as well. And he knows where the first down marker is. He's got a good presence of mind from a running back position. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, the kid's only 5'9", 185, 190 pounds, if that. It's just an unbelievable. He's very explosive. He can see the field. And I think him being small and compact, that makes it hard for defenders to find where he's at and to possibly wrap him up. The kid is very slippery and had a tremendous season last year, becoming also on the All-American team, the freshman All-American team. So Lamar's got a good one.
And that just goes to show you, Nick, here in Southeast Texas, it's very rich in football history. We go back to some of the greatest football players here in Southeast Texas, recently with Jamal Charles, and you have Earl Thomas at West Orange Stark. And it's just a credit to a lot of good people, a lot of good coaches. And, myself being in the coaching business now, I get a chance to see how hard kids work to get to the top and what it takes to go to the next level.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Nowadays, it's pretty much a 24/7 job. These kids go to school. They work out early in the morning. They go to class. They come back outside and work out again. They go to class. You have to be, and just look at their grades, though. Their grades, they're very smart kids. And, of course, they know that football is not going to be forever, and they know they're going to have to get that degree. But for right now, they're going to have to juggle between school and football. That's why they're such great student athletes. But like you said, Ray Woodard has done a great job with this program. Now it's time to take a step forward here and compete for a Southland Conference championship.
Yeah, the 5 and 5s and the 5 and 6 and the 5 and 7s are pretty much kind of old news right now. It's time to take that next step, compete with the Stephen F. Austins, compete with the McNeeses. And you look at what some of the things that have gone on even up at Sam Houston. I mean, Huntsville right now is even rich in football, and the CFS is growing right now, college football subdivision. And I think it's time for Lamar to kind of elevate themselves into the next bracket.
Oh, exactly. Sam Houston State, what they've done the past couple of years going to the national championship game, and I've said it all along, Southland Conference is probably the toughest conference in FCS. By none, by far. With Sam Houston State, you had Southeastern Louisiana last year who came out of nowhere, had a great year. McNeese is always in there, Central Arkansas, etc. So now it's time for Lamar to make that step up. They can always expect to play 3 or 4 top 25 teams, and that is what's going to, hopefully propel them to the next level.
You're listening to Coach's Corner here with Coach Brandon Morrell here, a new show here on sportsradiobeaumont.com and also AM 1450 and AM 1510. Glad to have all the listeners out there here in Southeast Texas talking with Nick Canizales. He's a sports reporter for a local television station in Waco, Texas, good friend of mine for a long time. And I tell you what, Nick, to kind of finish up the conversation of Lamar football, one of the biggest games I saw on the schedule this year, they have a great just plethora of games. One of the biggest ones I saw, of course, is the big one at Kyle Field. I believe it's September 6th. Just talk about the ambiance, the Cardinal players stepping into a big atmosphere for the first time in Kyle Field. Lamar at Texas A&M September 6th. Going to be a huge game, especially for everybody here in Southeast Texas.
Exactly. No, it would have been an even better game if Johnny Manziel would have still been there on the hoopla and circus with that. But still, Kyle Field, they're getting renovated right now. Over 100,000 people. It is something that these kids will never forget. They played Hawaii, they played La Tech, as far as FBS schools, but nothing like they're going to face against Texas A&M. And you know what? If they somehow pull off a miracle and win, boy, you talk about a celebration in Beaumont and Southeast Texas. That would be incredible.
Well, it's going to be awesome to talk more Lamar football, and, of course, camp coming up 2-a-days coming up August 1st, and then college football the end of August. Hard to believe another season's here, Nick. Again, Brandon Morrell here in Coach's Corner here on sportsradiobeaumont.com, AM 1450, AM 1510, talking to Nick Canizales. He's a local guy, knows the Beaumont market very well, and doing very well for himself up in Waco, Texas. I tell you what, Nick, switching gears, talking a little bit about things, right there in your area, right there in Waco. The Baylor football program getting close to 2-a-days with a lot of the summer workouts. Talk about some of the contributions that have been going on from a couple of local guys from Port Arthur Memorial. One of them is Terrence Singleton. He used to be a quarterback for Coach Kenny Harrison in this area. Talk about some of the progress, and I understand one kid actually made a position change to tight end.
That is correct. To start off with Terrence Singleton, everybody knows first-team All-State for Kenny Harrison out there in Port Arthur Memorial, won the Willie Ray Smith Award. He has been, since he's coming to Baylor, he's been playing in the secondary. He played about 13 games last season. He had about 5 tackles. He's going to be pretty much one of 4 players in the mix to start at cornerback. Trayvon Armstead, he is a monster. He moved from tackle to tight end. He's trying to replace Jordan Iver, who's actually currently playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Trayvon, he's 6'6", 270 pounds. Don't let his size fool you. He's pretty quick. He runs a 40 in about 4.8 seconds. Between him and Terrence, they're looking to make a huge impact for this Baylor team who wrapped up their first Big 12 crown last season. Now for Trayvon, I don't know how big how good his hands are. I saw him in the spring. He had a couple of good catches. Art Browns runs a spread offense, but pretty much the tight end doesn't really get a lot of passes thrown their way. So majority of his time is going to be spent on blocking for Bryce Petty out there, keeping him upright.
I go back with Art and looking at him, had a chance to meet him, a couple of years ago when I coached at West North Stark. He actually walked through our hallways, and I had a chance to talk to him. In your opinion, what do you think makes Art Briles just a very organized and structured head coach for college football?
Well, he just knows what he wants, and he gets everything out of his players. I mean, the players love him. They love playing for him. He is very down to earth, and he's all business. And, his motto is just basically, hey, if we just put in the work, everything will fall into place. I mean, he's been a guy where he was coaching at Stephenville. They played P&G back in the 99 state championship at the Astrodome. He went from there, went to University of Houston, pretty much rebuilt their entire program, came to Baylor, which Baylor was just horrible back then whenever Kevin Steele was the head coach, and then so on, Guy Morris, and has turned this program into one of the elite, not only in the Big 12, but in the entire nation. He's done an incredible job with this program.
Art Browser, certainly one of the finest head coaches in college football. We're a little over a month out now, of course, coming up probably August 28th, 29th from Baylor's first game. Speaking of that, who does Baylor actually have for the first 2 or 3 games for their schedule?
Baylor will take on SMU at the brand-new McLean Stadium. Now, this is replacing Floyd Casey Stadium after 50-something years. It is state-of-the-art right there on the Brazos River. It is pretty fine. I know season tickets are sold out. Pretty much you're going to have to scalp or beg whatever for a ticket for this year. They have SMU they open up with. Southland Conference foe, Northwestern State will be the following week. And then they travel to Buffalo, and then they get into conference play. I don't know how many people know down there in Southeast Texas, but Baylor will play Lamar on September 12th in 2015 here in Waco. So the Lamar Cardinals will play Texas A&M this year, and then they'll travel up to Waco to meet the Bears in September 12th of 2015.
That's going to be awesome for Lamar basketball. Of course, we'll be talking more about that coming up here in the coming months with new head coach Tick Price. A lot of exciting things going on out there. And, of course, Tick's got a couple of new recruits. We're going to talk to Tick about that here in the coming weeks here on Sports Radio, Beaumont.com. Again, Nick Canizales, Coach Brandon Morrell here in Coach's Corner. And, a very somber note, Nick, to talk a little bit about, to stay with the Baylor program. It's a very, very sad situation. This is a very courageous young man who I had a chance to hear a lot about and read a lot of different articles. And recently, according to multiple reports and multiple diagnoses that went on from several doctors and stuff like that, I always encourage young athletes to just be the best they can be on the field, on the court, be class citizens off the court, on the field, in the classroom, all those great things. And none of them have been just more of a fine young man than Isaiah Austin, the Baylor basketball player for Scott Drew. And, just unfortunately was diagnosed with Marfan syndrome. I don't know much about that, but, he unfortunately cannot continue his career in the NBA with the draft coming up, this week, and teams kind of, figuring out what they're going to do come draft day. But talk a little bit about this young man. You knew Isaiah Austin. It became a big national story and was all over, ESPN and some of the major network outlets. What did you get to know this young man, and what about his character? And I'm sure he didn't relate a lot of it to the disability.
Yeah, Isaiah Austin is one of the nicest kids you will ever meet. He's very low-key, but very intense on the court. It's just a kid who has overcome so much in his life already. He was already blind in his right eye as a result of a detached retina suffered as a teenager. He was expected to be the first ever to play in the NBA while partially blind. The NBA draft is on Thursday, and on Saturday night he basically got the word that he was suffering from Marfan syndrome, which that basically is caused by a genetic mutation that leads to problems in the connective tissues throughout the body. And he says that he has an enlarged heart, and if the doctors told him if he does anything strenuous or pushes himself to the limit, his heart could rupture and it could be fatal. So even though that this is a very heartbreaking story that about a kid who has the dreams of going to the NBA, this basically him entering the NBA draft saved his life.
Courageous young man, and one of those stories that, a lot of times we hear about some of the negative things that happens in sports out there, and you hear about contract talks and money, but it really kind of makes you come down a level a little bit, Nick, when you start thinking about, reality and sports not being everything and how important family is and just how much these young men go through when it comes to perseverance and things like that, really life situations end up catching up to you, and sometimes you have to let go of your dreams and you have to listen to your body.
Exactly, and I talked with his mom. His mom told me that, he knew that one day the ball was going to stop bouncing, and it just happened sooner than later. He's going to turn this into a positive. He wants to go back to school because he did leave school early after his sophomore year. He wants to go back to school, finish his degree, maybe get into coaching or mentoring, and then possibly turning this whole situation into a positive. His story has already inspired so many people, throughout the nation and throughout the world. But he hopefully that this would, this raises some type of awareness for Marfan syndrome, and hopefully that people will get checked that are tall and lean, and you just kind of wonder how many people in the NBA, might have this type of syndrome because, from what his mom told me about the doctors, this can go undetected.
Well, I tell you what, such a courageous young man, incredible story, very somber story at the same time. But Isaiah Austin, I wish him the best of luck in going back to school and getting that degree, persevering, entering the coaching field, because you know what, the coaching field needs more players like Isaiah Austin. And you know what, Nick, to kind of finish up today, because we're running out of time here on Sports Radio, Beaumont.com, AM 1450, AM 1510, Brandon Morrell here in the Coach's Corner. Appreciate everything from all of our sponsors and making this possible. Also to Mike Langley for making this possible, too. I want to finish up and get your pick. I got a chance to sit back a little bit the other night and watch the College World Series game. I tell you what, Vanderbilt is very deep in pitching, and Virginia just kept scratching away. And I never thought entering the ball game this was going to be a 9-8 final score, but with both teams looking for their first national championship in college baseball history, we got to give credit to both programs for making it this far, but I also have to tie in the Texas Longhorns, C.J. Hinojosa, one of their best shortstops who had some clutch hits up there, and then, of course, with Augie Garrido seeking his 6th national championship. Going to have to put that on hold, but I tell you what, Nick, what a great run for the Horns, right?
Oh, man. I mean, did they ever get hot at the right time? And it seems like every time they go to the College World Series, they know what to do, and all they do is win. They had outstanding pitching. They had clutch hitting when they needed it. And like you said, Augie Garrido, when he gets here, all he does is win, and he knows how to get the very best out of his team year in and year out. And we actually ran a soundbite from him a couple of days ago, and he said that basically, hey, there's no reason why we shouldn't be back here next year. With all the talent coming in, with as far as recruiting and the talent they have coming back, they should be in the same situation again next year.
Well, I tell you what, we're out of time here, sportsradiobeaumont.com. Again, Coach Brandon Morrell here in Coach's Corner. And Mr. Canizales, you're welcome back anytime. It's good to do this little two-step with you once again, kind of relive some of the old days. A lot of topics to talk about. I think we went around the table. And, hey, buddy, great having you. And, hey, best of luck in Waco as things get better and better for you out there. Anytime you have any news, you're welcome to give me a call and come on the show and make it that much more livelier.
Hey, I appreciate the time, big time, Brandon. Like I said, I'm very glad you're back on the air. Southeast Texas, glad you're back on the air, and I look forward to talking to you again.
All right, Nick, appreciate you, buddy. And like I said, you have a wonderful day, all right?
You too, buddy. You take care.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye. Got to sign off for the night, but thanks to all the guests, all the high school coaches, and everybody who makes this show possible here at Cumulus Broadcasting. We'll see you next Tuesday. Don't forget to tune in. Check out the Facebook page. Check out sportsradiobeaumont.com. Look under shows. Don't forget to answer the coaches quiz. Have a good time there. Play around. And just enjoy all the different items at sportsradiobeaumont.com. Appreciate everybody making this show possible, and we'll see you next Tuesday from 5 until 6 on sportsradiobeaumont.com and also AM 1450 and AM 1510. Good night.
Bosch is the quietest dishwasher brand in the U.S. and now feature a third rack that gives you 30% more capacity compared to Bosch 2-rack models. See yours at Lowe's today or visit Lowe's.com/Bosch.
Sports Radio 1450 AM, 1510 AM invites you to climb into the cage this Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. for Fight Night, hosted by Chad Cooper.
One of my favorite mixed martial artists of all time, Mr. Czech Congo. Just tell me your overall thoughts of signing with Bellator MMA.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just the fact to come in that tournament.
An hour of everything mixed martial arts and pro wrestling. Your in-depth analysis along with interviews from the top fighters, promoters, and biggest names in MMA and pro wrestling.
Let's go!
Fight Night on Sports Radio 1450 AM, 1510 AM.